and a heart of grit. Every seam has a little bit. Let the chaos and the colors blend. A masterpiece that never has to end. Yeah, it's perfectly imperfect!
Dear Diary, I can hear the thunder starting to roll in, and my skin is already crawling. That sound always takes me back to the porch, back to being the inconvenient thing my mother left behind so she could go be a face on a magazine. I don't even remember that day, as I was barely a year old, but Dad wanted me to know the truth, especially after the incident at school, the one that got me expelled. Tiffany Sterling Ashford is the ultimate queen bee, and she thought she was so clever shoving that cover in my face and telling me how fugly I am compared to her. And by her, she meant my birth mother, the gorgeous model. She thought it would break me. Well, she learned the hard way that I don't break. This is not the first time she targeted me. But in that moment, I decided this was the last time. I told her exactly what happens to a queen bee when the workers realize she's useless. For reference, they get rid of her and then replace her with a fresh baby breeder. They just dump her lifeless body outside of the hive. And she'd only be relevant until a new queen moves in. Tiffany didn't like that and signaled to her attendants. They grabbed my arms and forced me to my knees. My phone was yanked out of my pocket and dropped right in front of me. I knew what was coming next. I tried not to cringe as the screen spiderwebbed in front of my face. Tiffany's heel came down and destroyed my phone. I thought seeing red was just an expression, but that's what happened. All my shopping lists and vision boards were on that phone, and now it was gone. I actually did see red, as the self-defense lessons Dad taught me kicked in. I used my lower center of gravity to pull free of their grip and then punched Tiffany's groin area. I was surprised when that maneuver worked. When Dad told me that boys and girls are sensitive down there, I thought he was joking. But targeting her groin dropped her like a dollar store Pinocchio. After that, I shoved her worker bees into the lockers. Then I picked up my phone and ran for cover. The thing is that I do that over and over again. I don't care if the principal is in her mom's pocket or if her parents use their power to trash my academic record while Tiffany got off scot-free. Well, almost scot-free. She'll probably have to see the plastic surgeon for repairs. It's official. Permanent expulsion. It's going on my record forever just because her family has deep pockets. Well, let them have their fake victory. Dad actually replaced my phone today, but I'm not throwing the old one away. The screen is a total spider web of cracks from the fight, but I'm keeping it as a trophy. It's a reminder that even when things get smashed up, I'm still here. It's proof that I can't be broken. Honestly, I thought Dad would be steamed about the school fight and expulsion, but he was cool about it. He did sit me down for a talk, and I told him everything. If anything, he was more upset that I didn't come to him when the first incident happened. But he understood why I kept it to myself. He also told me about the day I was dropped off on the porch. I still don't know how I feel about that, but what he wanted me to understand was why we were moving. There was something happening that I had no idea about. Dad didn't tell me much about all the grown-up stuff that had been going on, but he knew that the Ashfords were coming for him, and by extension me. So he sold the business before they could take it from him. I also didn't know that he'd bought a farmhouse in Lowry County for us to move to. He just told me that the city had rotten bones and it was time to move somewhere where the rot wouldn't seep in. I asked him if the place was haunted, because with my luck, I'd be swapping a queen bee for a phantom. He chuckled and reassured me that the pastor, Brother Mac, his childhood friend, had already blessed the place. He assured me that any ghosts were driven out for good. A pastor-approved house. Well, I guess if the pastor says it's clean, I'll have to take his word for it. The real shock was when he told me I'm getting their master bedroom. He said I'm going to need a space for a real sewing studio. He actually gets it. He knows I need the floor space for the heavy-duty machines and room to lay out my fabrics. He was not expecting me to reform. He's giving me a workspace to actually build something of my own. Everything is still completely catawampus, but I'm sitting here on my bed sewing my victory patch onto my vest. It's a square of that stupid blue plaid uniform with the edges singed black and a huge X over the B. I'm keeping the grudge and the patch and the phone, but honestly, I'm more than ready to leave this place in the rearview mirror. If Lowry County means a massive studio and finally being done with the city's poison, then I'm ready to go. I just need to finish this last row of stitches before the rain starts hitting the roof. I can't think once the storm really breaks.
I remember exactly how it started. I was a child somewhere between the ages of 7 and 10 and living on Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois, which of course closed down right after we moved to Michigan. Anyway, my friend next door showed me her Kirsten doll. I was just a kid, but in that moment I knew I had to have one. It wasn't instant, though. It took a few years of asking, but finally on one of my birthdays, and I don't remember which one it was, I was finally handed a Samantha doll in a beautiful red velvet case. She was gorgeous and had all of her little accessories and a book, and I cherished every bit of her. If you look at her today, she's in a bit of rough shape and needs refurbishment. But she has been through a lot of love, and honestly, that's my favorite thing about her. If a Patronus was a real thing, the memory of receiving her, of holding that precious gift in my hands that I'd wanted for so long, that would be the absolute happiest memory of that season of my life. But the story didn't end there. So many years later, for our 4th anniversary, Marcus took me to the American Girl store in Dallas, Texas, and he surprised me by telling me to pick any doll I wanted and he would buy it for me. Unlike the first one, she didn't have a name or a backstory. She was just a blank slate for me to personalize. I tell Marcus all the time that he basically created a monster. That one gift sent me on a path that was way beyond just collecting a doll. Not only did I make her over into a punk girl, but I created a backstory for her that ended up taking on a life of its own. That's what led me here, to building these characters from the ground up, one transformation at a time. And this aesthetic that I'm wearing right now, this battle vest with all its grit and hardware, is just another chapter in the same story. It's all part of that perfectly imperfect philosophy, taking something, breaking it down, and building it back into something with real character. Now that this personal story is told, let's go look at what I've created. Everyone, this is Iola Thistle Punk.
Racing my own thoughts into the silence.
there she is, Iola, fully transformed and rocking her new look. But a character with this much grit shouldn't have to walk the road alone, and luckily she doesn't. And next time, we are diving into the story of her very special, very stubborn little companion, Heather Down. She might be a bit of a bum lamb now, but she's about to prove that being a little broken just means that you have more character. Hit subscribe so you don't miss her full Thistle Punk transformation, and I'll see you in part 2. Thank you.
With a rebel stitch and a heart of grit, every seam has a